This is a podcast or something like that.
Hey, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to the podcast. Episode 78, technically. And that is really cool. And it's a public episode, so welcome to the public. Hi, how are you doing? Welcome to the podcast. You've maybe never seen this, or you were here like 3 weeks ago, right? And a few weeks before that, there's been a lot of controversy. Should the public episode be every 4 weeks? Should it be every 2 weeks? I still remember the YouTube commenter saying it's actually not morally right for you to put it at all behind a paywall, which was a very convincing argument, frankly, and not very convincing, I shouldn't say. It was a interesting argument that I think philosophers will ponder over for years to come. But I did decide on every 3 weeks, and that's because I'm doing video episodes every episode now, which is a lot of work, a little bit of work. So it's more value to get it out there and to get more people listening and watching. So much to talk about today. It's Monday. Usually this is on a Sunday, so you might not know that. If you're from the public at large, you're like, I don't care and so on. But this is on a Sunday usually. It's also during the daytime usually. This is a night episode and a Monday episode, so kind of 2-in-1 on that front. How often has that happened, that we've had a Monday episode that was also a night episode? Could I get the... Okay, we got a lot of chaos here today. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get that right now. There's a reason? Okay, there's a reason, apparently. So, episode 70, yeah, but it's nice because it's Labor Day. So, I like to celebrate Labor Day by doing a little bit of labor, but this is creative labor, and I sort of get to see myself in this work, It's not really like I'm being exploited. I mean, I do have an employer, the Verbal Journal Podcast Corporation. They do take a percentage, of course. I work a 10-hour day. Probably only 6 of those hours are really reproducing my labor value, and the rest is surplus value for my boss. But that's how it works. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. You know what I mean? I'm not complaining at all. I'm just, I'm noting I've done the math, and there's not that much overhead. I understand what's going on here, but it's great. I'm so happy to be a part of the Verbal Journal Podcast Productions universe. So it's really all worth it for clout. But and I am drinking beer out of a wine glass because they don't have a lot of glasses here. I've talked about my refrigerator that I get here at the work office. I live at the podcast studios. I've talked about that, I think, on the last public episode. I didn't so much talk about the cabinet situation. Obviously, I talked about the refrigerator. The cabinets are a totally different thing. Often they are understocked, I think it's fair to say. So today I just had you wouldn't normally drink beer out of a glass this shape. It's far too feminine and sexual, I would say. Is that fair to say? So in part of trying to be a more public podcast and putting myself out there, putting ourselves out there, and trying to sort of take over the podcasting world, I haven't been shy about it. I'm trying to do that. There can be only one. Part of that has been trying to create controversy. So if I say something like this wine glass has a feminine and a sexual shape, just know that I'm doing that to court controversy. I'm not inherently using sort of weird sexist, vaguely sexist at best, associations. It's sort of, I'm trying to court controversy. This is the podcasting world. If you don't listen to a lot of podcasts, if you don't watch a lot of podcasts, you might not understand. You have to sort of court controversy. So that's, let's just say, I think the Redditors will be having a field day with that one. Is Redditor a slur? A lot of questions we're going to be going over today. What do we got here? I got the script. This has all been scripted, everything I've said so far, and it all will be scripted. There might be brief digressions. If there are, I will tell you. Anything that's not scripted, I will tell you. I've mentioned briefly, probably a lot, that I have phone issues, and that's part of why I haven't done video episodes, because I film on my phone, a phone I bought for the video camera, because it's a pretty good camera. Phone restarts whenever it wants. Not a great quality for a phone to have. It's sort of like if a person just like screamed and then became a new self whenever they wanted, basically. That would be inconvenient for most functions. Most, not all. They could be, performance artist or something. I'm sure there are other jobs. Accountant, they work from home. Sometimes. I don't know if that's true. What was my point there? Good news is the phone already restarted right before I started filming here. So the phone had its sort of outburst. It had its, je ne sais quoi, and we're kind of moving forward with that in the rear view mirror, all right? And I will be pausing every now and then. Know that there's nothing weird happening behind the scenes, okay? When I pause. It's just that I'm pausing to make sure that the footage gets recorded. When you can't change something, you take control of what you can, right? So that's what I'm doing here. And, now, for example, I won't always reference it so directly. So anyway, so that's that. Public. Now, every third episode is public. We did mention that. Previous episode was the longest episode. So you're wondering what's not public, right? You know what I mean? You're thinking, I'll just stick around every 3 weeks. I'll get the public episode. I don't need to give this guy $1 or $2, on Patreon. Or I don't have to become a YouTube member to get this stuff, right? No matter how much I might want it, which is admittedly a lot, is what you're thinking. All of that. Well, last episode was a private episode, and it was just for channel supporters, and it was the longest podcast episode since the Podtravaganza, which of course was episode 17 on May 31st of last year. So the Podtravaganza, I mean, if you don't already know about it, I'm sorry to keep talking about the Podtravaganza. I know that's something I'm sure everybody knows about. That was the longest episode that's ever been done. I don't remember why I wanted to do such a long episode. It must have been like an hour 40 or something. I don't know. But anyways, so last episode was the second longest episode ever. So that was episode 77, obviously. And it was also the first episode with full high quality video. So that's what we're going to have now. Okay, not necessarily. Once in a while, the high quality video might break out and we'll have like section of it that's low quality. But at this point, I'm just not being lazy. I'm letting my phone take a break when it needs to. I'll do a few recordings. I'll take a break. I'll let my phone cool down because that's a separate problem from the restarting. You know what I mean? That's just a normal chronic phone issue. They get overheated. That's different from my phone's particular individualized conditions. That's sort of the general. It's like the human condition, but for a phone. They do overheat. So that was the first full high quality video. It was really awesome, I think. It did have more views than the one before. And that's on YouTube. It's obviously because it's on YouTube. I host them on YouTube. But they're just for channel supporters, so don't even worry about it. Unless you want to become a channel supporter, then worry about it. You're not missing that much. I'm not saying you need to give me your money. It's not that big. But if you want to, more views. It had more views. So can we pull that up? Let's pull that up. All right, there we go. So these were the two recent episodes. We got 15 views to 14 views. So that's pretty significant. And I think that's, mostly because of the full high quality video. People really came out for that. And that's, evident. So just kind of a fun little, fact that we are improving. We're getting better with our outreach. We got a marketing team. I will introduce you to them in this episode. We're going to meet the marketing team, which is very exciting because I know in the last episode we met the booking team, and that was very fun. So one thing to look forward to. But next up in the introduction, we have, the last episode, this episode is the 6th public episode, just so you kind of orient yourself to what's going on here. This is the 6th public episode and the 4th in a row. So 4th public episode, wait. This is written wrong in the script. I'm having to correct it on the fly, just so everyone understands. I'm sorry you had to see that. This is the 6th public episode and the 4th video episode in a row, correct? Why does it say the 4th in a row? Now I have to do research. So this is the... Can we pull up the... How do I pull this up at all, actually? This is supposed to be something my team has here. Let me look this up really quick. So the problem with working at a big organization like Verbal Journal Podcast Corporation Productions Incorporated is you do have a lot of redundancy, which can be very useful. You have a lot of people doing each other's jobs. That, however, does translate to sometimes they do it differently. We have pretty good vacation time, time off here, so people will be out. And then that creates, you would think the redundancy is good for that, but, sorry, I'm just riffing while I look. So I don't know what I meant. It's definitely the 6th public episode. That's for sure. It is the 4th video episode in a row. Yes, I was right about that. Okay, I was right. Great. So this has, the first public episode was a video episode. So that's part of what motivated me to do more video episodes, is having more public stuff. And by the way, this whole rambling, like the last 2 minutes, that's part of a podcast. You know what I mean? It's not interesting, it's not entertaining, and you wish I cut it out. But that's part of what makes this a podcast and not a video essay. So first public episode was a first video episode, and that was on June 9th of this year. So just kind of orienting ourselves here to the situation. Yeah, I got to apologize for something. So this was big. We had a lot of people really upset about this. Hold on, let me take a second and pull this up. Okay, I have to apologize for this. I hate having to apologize for things. I feel like I don't even hate it in general. I just mean on the podcast. It feels like so often I'm constantly forced to apologize. You know, in my regular life, and I talked about apologies in the Breaking Bad video, I talk about apologies a lot. I like apologies. I have no problem making an apology. I make them very promptly. I have to tell myself when to wait and not immediately make an apology, not an unapology, where you are just like, actually, I'm not sorry. But it feels like with the podcast, it's like they write this stuff into the script where I have to apologize for it. And frankly, I don't always feel like I did something wrong, is the problem. And I'm being totally fake. This is not one of those times. So in the last Patreon upload, I wrote, "We're really rolling now with these video podcasts now." Okay. Yeah, I wrote "now" twice in the sentence. Yeah. Ha ha. Everyone have your laugh. You might be thinking, does it make sense for the talent to be writing the description on the Patreon upload? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. YouTube viewer and future, not former. Fuck. It was going to be such a good line. Can we take that again? Yeah, that's a good point. YouTube viewer and future YouTube member, right? The marketing team wrote that line for me. They're going to be pretty pissed off that I didn't say it right. But when you meet them, you'll see they take things very well. They're very lighthearted. You won't meet them. Well, you'll meet them. You won't hear their voice. I don't like to have other people taking up my time here on the mic. That's part of my contract. But I'm going to introduce them and you'll get the sense that they're very nice people. They have no, bone to pick with me messing up a few words in the thing. So in the ad read. When are we doing the Raytheon ad? Did we get them? We only got Lockheed Martin. Damn it. They're the less ethical one, unfortunately. We'll get to that later, and I shouldn't have said that. The marketing team might not be happy about that. The apology, I'm sorry, I said now twice. I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be having to do that. And it was a mistake, and I'm sorry. It was an honest mistake. I totally didn't realize I had already written the word now in the sentence is what happened. So I'm sorry. I own that. I will own that. I don't think I should have had to do it, and I don't think I should have had to apologize. But if I am going to apologize, I'll admit readily that was my fault. That was not anyone's fault but my own. So that's good, and we're happy about that. In general, I try not to make too many mistakes, but they will happen sometimes. So you'll have me kind of apologizing if I need to. I'd prefer it to be when I need to. So also just about that, I didn't fix what it said, even though you can edit the post on Patreon. Patreon doesn't show when a post has been edited. So it just edits. I mean, you can update people if you want, but it doesn't automatically show. So I thought that would be kind of dishonest to edit it. You know what I mean? Because you won't know that I edited it. You won't know. So I thought it would be better to not only not edit it, but prominently discuss it on the podcast. That's in the script too, when I drink and how many sips I take and so on. So another fun channel update is Verbal Journal podcast YouTube channel at Verbal Journal, which is where you're watching this right now. We got our 69th subscriber. So that's nice, as they say. And you can break that, if you want. That was a fun public episode 3 episodes ago. That was fun. Groundbreaking, really, for the pod. So 69th subscriber. Oh. Okay. We're out of the intro now. Yeah, this is going to be a whole thing, huh? Because I keep doing this. This one I do kind of feel bad about. So, let me wait for the car to pass. This needs a more serious tone. This one I do feel bad about. So I need to close the loop on something from last episode, following up on sort of the long running. It went from being a coffee story to being a bell pepper story, and now it's sort of transitioned into a seltzer story, believe it or not, which is surprising. But it has to do with I ran out of seltzer, and that was something I discussed on the last episode. Fuck, camera failed. Wow, that's crazy. The camera failed, but it kept the footage. That has never happened before, and I just want to say phone, Samsung S21, good on you. Good on you. You have your issues, and you have them frequently, but when it really matters, you came through. That was a long clip. That was a pretty solid clip. I wanted that, and you kept it. And not only that, but we're going to have a fun moment right at the end that everyone just experienced where it's like, oh, it changes to the previous camera for a second. That's going to be really special, and I appreciate that. So, wow, thank you. That was unscripted, I'll be honest. We don't script the technological issues. Do you have another 5 minutes in you, buddy? Can we do a shot? Can I do my job? So what am I sorry about? Follow up, closing the loop, running out of seltzer in context of intro regarding being back on coffee, back to it. I said that I was supposed to say, or I was saying that I was drinking coffee again. And it was kind of disturbing, I think, for people to watch because they were like, damn, I'm witnessing a relapse. You know what I mean? Like, that was kind of heavy for folks to watch. I was drinking the coffee. I was enjoying the coffee. Everybody's watching knowing this is part of a severe addiction that he suffers with. And, you know, you all had to kind of think about that. And I'm sorry for that. Well, that's not what I'm apologizing for, but that was just a side thing. I'm sure that was hard for you and so on. However, when I was drinking my seltzer, was I drinking my seltzer? No. Fuck. I've had a little too much of this stuff. I got confused. I was drinking coffee, obviously. That's the whole point of the freaking story. The seltzer came into the picture because I was talking about how I wasn't drinking seltzer, and then I was adding into the mix. I was saying I ran out of seltzer. That was something that was supposed to lead to a further elucidation, you could say, and I was supposed to say why I ran out of seltzer because it's actually a really funny story. So I went on a car ride with a friend. Okay, she came and picked me up, and I was like so grateful because I don't drive. I mean, I do drive. I just don't have a car. You know what I mean? I don't have a car. I don't have a camera. I use my phone. I'm living in abject poverty, okay? That's probably offensive to put it that way. Sure. And is it true? No, it's not. But I think for emotional purposes, what I'm trying to say is I don't own a vehicle. So a friend picks me up, and she's driving me, and we're going to see an art show. And this is really exciting for me because I love art. I'm a big art guy. You can see that art I painted in a video. There's a little art around. Some people's art is other people's. Some people's art is my own. Is that video unlisted now? I forget if I was a little self-conscious. You know, artists. That being said, I knew my friend would be thirsty. And I knew that she probably didn't plan and bring a drink because she has ADHD, which I do too. So I relate to it. I know what ADHD is like. I know that sometimes you forget to bring water with you when you go places. And we're going on a 30-minute drive, you know. So I get 2 seltzers. I bring them with me, and we drink them together. And let me tell you, she was so happy. She was like, I am going to tell everyone about this, that you brought me a seltzer. It's going to help your credibility. It's going to help you with meeting people. It's going to help you with your job. Like, she was apparently going to contact my clients or something. I don't really know exactly what was going to happen, but there was this whole thing, and I was like, damn, like, that's sick. But those were my last 2 seltzers. So unfortunately, that was the story there. Just wanted to close that loop. And the art was good. There were like a few different artists, paintings, which are my favorite forms of art, frankly. I mean, all art is good in equal ways, but paintings I just vibe with because I do them, you know, so yeah. I'm not taking any chances. Separate, different thing, follow-up, less urgent, less important, but related sort of to the story. I mentioned, you know, bell peppers being part of the sequence. Regarding green bell peppers, which we obviously know I like because they're crunchy. I just want to say this is kind of a funny irony about me. Just kind of get to know me a little bit better. It's kind of funny. I like green peppers because they're crunchy, but what type of onions do I like? I actually like sweet onions. So I don't like sweet bell peppers, but I like sweet onions. How does that work out for you? You know what I'm saying? How does the math work out on that one for you, Einstein? You know? Bell pepper looking Einstein? Like, tell me about that. Why do I like less sweet bell peppers and more sweet onions? Can someone please tell me why? Because You could write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com and you could let me know. You don't have to pay to support the podcast. You don't have to ever listen to what I say. Just tell me why. Just, tell me why. Why do I like non-sweet bell peppers, but I like sweet onions? I think this says a lot about my attachment style and about society, but I'm honestly not sure. So if you're watching this podcast for the first time, you're probably a little bit confused because even though we're out of the intro, it's been a lot of like podcast-centric meta commentary on the Verbal Journal form and function. So I get that that's a little bit odd. I personally love it. I find it very fun, and the audience loves it. We get a lot of positive comments and reactions. We get a lot of shares, a lot of socials, blowing up on the socials, basically. We do have more on that front with the next thing. We have actually an announcement, but I'm about to do the announcement about you. You have something before I do the announcement? Okay. So Reginald, the data guy, obviously I've talked a lot about Reginald. We have, a whole team here. Reginald does the data, helped with me figuring out earlier about the pod travaganza, how long ago it was that was the longest episode. He sort of keeps the data. He looks at the data. We love him for that. But he wants to tell me something now. So he's just going to interject really briefly. Yeah, so that's true. Okay, yeah, I'll give them the context. So I last week I was talking to Reginald a little bit, and I asked a question regarding whether I had. So we were doing this whole section about the presidential endorsement, and I said the word woman a lot. I just noticed myself, I've said the word woman a lot because I was talking about Kamala Harris. She's a woman. Breaking news. And I said the word woman a lot, and then I was like, is that the most I've ever said the word woman in a short span of time? And Reginald was like, I don't know. I'm not prepared for that question. You know what I mean? Which is fair. I got mad at the time, but I think that's fair. In retrospect, I did think about it. I apologize. We're good. But apparently he looked into it. So apparently, send that over. Put that in the doc. What do we got here? So whether I had said the word woman more times in a short span of time than in my segment regarding the presidential endorsement. So Reginald couldn't get the data actually on the Verbal Journal episodes because the videos are unlisted. So the online tools that actually exist now to help you scroll through transcripts basically and isolate words can't access unlisted videos. So Reginald looked instead through the What's Therapy YouTube channel, which we're affiliated with loosely, sometimes tightly, as you'll see later, and sort of as a horizontal integration. In the presidential endorsement segment, I said it was about a 3-minute span is what I said, but I didn't say woman in the first minute. So actually under the 2 minutes of that part of the segment, I said the word woman 14 times. So 14 times, actually not 2 minutes, it was 1 minute and 44 seconds. So 14 times in a minute, it was between 15 minutes and 46 seconds and 17 minutes and 30 seconds. Thank you, Reginald. So that's 104 seconds divided by 14 womans, which is me saying the word woman every 7.4286 seconds with rounding to the closest 10,000th digit, of course. So 7.4286 seconds is every 7 can I say every 7 seconds? No? Okay. So every 7.4286 seconds, I said the word woman on average in that span of time. That's pretty frequent, I'd say. Did I do it before in any of my videos? So, what? Are you kidding me, man? Okay. So Reginald apparently thinks it would be fun for me to do the work live on the podcast, which is a very interesting way to look at things. I'll say that. But we can pull that up right now. That's this. So this is a website where you can do this type of thing. Do we have that pulled up? Hold on. Let's see. Okay, so this is the page we're looking for here. It's
Importantly, Breaking Bad has a woman in an electric scooter, and so does Better Call Saul.
Okay.
Importantly, the doctor can be a woman, the doctor can be non-binary. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay. So this website allows you to search by a term and a channel. Oh, here we go. This is a lot of women's.
someone who's a woman or who presents as a woman and is perceived as a woman. Someone is a woman and they're made to feel like they're supposed to be passive.
I don't know what I was talking about. Maybe toxic masculinity. That's a lot of women. That's 4, but you know, that's a very short span of time. That's not a minute 40. So what? Oh,
Goth woman die. Like it was like some stupid meme.
It's weird to watch these clips of myself publicly. I do that usually in the privacy of my own home. Methyl.
Other woman, Methyl, coerces Dory with the cookies in a...
That's a great one. You got to check out that video if you haven't. Oh my God, that movie. The Immaculate Conception of Little Dizzle. What's the deal with these flags? Vietnamese? I don't remember speaking Vietnamese.
Into it by going back to the F-man.
I don't mean to constantly just rail against Freud in this show, but this is another thing that Freud did to us, right? Because
I love when people say right like that. We talked about that recently on an episode about Sam Harris. I forgot that this guy did it before. What's his name? Sullivan's son, Sullivan. He's an interesting character. I don't know why it thinks I'm speaking Vietnamese. And I didn't hear the woman. Did I miss that? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Reginald, I don't know how the fuck you thought I was going to...
right.
How was I going to do this live on the pod? Anyways, thank you for the segment. That's really great. And we love that for you. So to what I was going to say, though, in the announcement, it's about Reginald. And it's kind of an insane update. So I'm just going to prep you for it. It's kind of an insane update. We do a lot of updates here. I know some of them are pretty silly, small. This is actually a pretty significant update. So just because I've talked about Reginald for a while. And this might not make sense. So Reginald is an old dog, not a human, a dog. And Reginald has cataracts, very severe cataracts, and he can't see anything. Now, how does that make sense? It's kind of complicated. There's more to the story. It's not exactly that he's a dog. I'll explain. He is it's not. I made up Reginald. Okay? I'm just going to come out and say this. There's no one named Reginald on the podcast. This is why this is an insane update. There's no one named Reginald. We don't have a data guy. And that's part of the reason the data has always been sort of a rough system here, and it hasn't really... Like we've had such a problem with our data. There's been so much poor communication. Reginald is not a real person at all. And the dog Reginald is not in the studio with us. So I'm explaining. There is a dog named Reginald, and he does have cataracts, and he can't see, and I love him. He's a great dog. He's a really good dog. I've known him for a couple years. I forgot that I knew him, and then I remembered recently. Rewind a little bit. Why? So what's the deal? We don't have a data guy. I always knew that would be a problem, so I just kind of made up a data guy. I talked to Donna, the producer, about it. I talked to our booking team. They were like, yeah, we'll pretend we booked him and stuff. You know, so I got the go-ahead from it, you know, and obviously I got the go-ahead to talk about it now because it's in the script, but this is sort of just something I've been wanting to come clean about. There's actually been no Reginald this whole time. He's the one that I made up. And it was kind of my creative thing, but I made him up. He's a fake that's a fake person. We don't have a data guy. That would be kind of weird. You know, I'm surprised you all believed it, frankly. Because we would get all these emails like, oh, Reginald's my favorite character on the podcast. You know, how, like, is he single and stuff? And I was like, you know, laughing to myself. You can't fuck, you know, an imaginary guy. Well, I don't know. I don't know the logic of that technically, but Reginald is a made-up guy. That's the thing I needed to come clean about. He's a totally made-up guy. And the thing about the dog is I recently spent time with Reginald the dog, who is a real dog who I know personally. But I hadn't seen him in a year. And I forgot that his name was Reginald. Because I don't, you know, dogs, you don't have to remember their name. You just are like in your mind, you remember their face. And that's what matters more, I think. I didn't remember his name was Reginald. So when I saw this dog and people are like, hey, Reginald, I'm like, that's the face I made. And people were like, are you okay? Like, your face looks like fucked up. And I was like, and that's because I realized I freaking took the name of my fake data guy from a dog with, not that the cataracts matter. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's just kind of adds a little flavor to the picture. But it is a dog. And I made up a character based on the name of a dog without even remembering. It's a beautiful name, though. Do you think it's maybe having a comeback? Because now we have the dog and my made-up data guy. So you might be thinking, who came up with the data for the stuff we just talked about woman? That was me. I do that. And I've just done that this whole time, basically. So that's that. Yeah, hopefully that clears up a few things. All right, so next section is we're going to pull up, this is a horizontal integration with the What's Therapy channel on a massive scale. We have smaller horizontal integrations sometimes. We're going to look at a recent posting, community post, where the audience of the What's Therapy Corp sort of YouTube channel, I guess is the word for it, was able to kind of voice their thoughts and let people know where they were at with a particular subject. So this is a horizontal integration extravaganza survey, and it says Reginald X What's Therapy, because it's sort of data with What's Therapy. But now that you know that Reginald is fake, maybe we should have saved that for next time when maybe you've kind of forgotten and so on. But so What's Therapy? That's me. That's my channel. I said, hey, what's up, people? Survey time. Do you watch or listen to more online content, videos and podcasts that are scripted or unscripted? And then when you click read more, you get, okay, thanks for your participation in the survey. Kind of a nice bonus. I was kind of surprised a little bit. I mean, so I didn't really think about what to expect, but I was, thinking about it with the whole transition into podcasts. And I am going to do video essays again. I just, I haven't really had one that I've mentioned working on one a little bit here and there, working on another one, but it's going to be slow going. So I was just curious. And also one of the video topic ideas sort of brings into mind this idea of, are there subjects that should be scripted? Are there subjects inherently that should be scripted? So I was kind of curious of what do people enjoy, scripted content, unscripted content. So scripted 68% to unscripted 16%. And I don't know, or show results is 15%. So, but only 16% watch primarily unscripted content. I mean, that's not surprising. I'm a mostly scripted channel, not all my videos at all, but most of them for sure. And so I don't have much else to say. What did people say? I like both at different times. They tend to have more quality. Yeah, I mean, I'd say so unless you're watching obviously like unscripted stuff where the unscripted nature is benefits the situation, like comedy, blah, blah, blah. Can be good unscripted. Only unscripted content I watch are drama and snark videos, and that's only because the person's personality. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. Anything else unscripted feels like it's lacking in quality. Yeah. That's interesting. I definitely watch a lot more scripted videos, 50-50, blah, blah, blee, blue, blah, blue, bleeb. Very cool and very nice and fun. So that was really cool. There was another thing I wanted to follow up on. This is interesting. So I made the bold claim last time that there is no YouTube channel that has a video autoplay when you go to their home channel that is a good channel, which is a bold claim. It turns out Majority Report, which I've been getting into, actually has that. So let's look. We refresh. You go to the Majority Report channel, and they play. And it's a funny little video. Oh, I didn't see you there. Blah, blah, blah. That's funny and so on. But wow. Well, I will say, actually, something they do well is they don't have audio come in for 4 seconds. So when you actually go to their channel, the audio doesn't come up immediately. That's kind of nice.
Hi.
Because that's exactly what's annoying, is to just have audio play. So very cool. I do recommend the Majority Report. I find it very funny. I've been watching their clips of their commentary on different right-wing figures. I find it very funny and good. But yeah, they do have a video. I'll admit it. I was wrong about that. There is a good YouTube channel that has a video autoplay when you go to it, and that's me admitting it, and that's my truth. Grinds My Gears segment. This is the Grinds My Gears segment? Okay. Grinds My Gears segment. Doesn't it really grind your gears when there's awkwardness when you're just trying to be a good person? Donna, did you write that? Are you doing okay? I mean, you can talk about it if you're not doing okay. Donna's our producer, obviously. Yeah, they put the script together. I do a lot of it, but they do often do the Grinds My Gears segment. So, awkwardness when you're just trying to be a good person. That's interesting. We can explore that at a later date. I don't know whether this is the time for that. So word of the day segment now. We got a great word of the day. Let's pull this up right now. This is the word of the day is Blarney stone, which is 2 words. So we could just say technically Blarney is the word of the day. But in reference to the stone, because I think it might mean something else or something like that. I don't, but. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Irish Clockna Barnen. Blarnen. Sort of going to court some controversy, my pronunciation there. It's a block of, the Blarney stone is a block of carboniferous limestone. As maybe the word of the day next time, right? It probably means something about carbon. Built into the battlements of Blarney Castle, Blarney. About 8 kilometers from Cork, Ireland, according to legend. Kissing the stone endows the kisser with the gift of the gab, which you might know from hip hop, means great eloquence or skill at flattery. I thought it was just communication in general. It's flattery. The stone was set into a tower of the castle in 1446. So was it thought of at that time in 1446, or when did it come on to take? No way. So Cormac McCarthy, the builder of Blarney Castle, not the Cormac McCarthy you know, was involved in a lawsuit in the 15th century. I didn't even know they had lawsuits back then. Appealed to the goddess for her assistance. She told him to kiss the stone. Oh, that's the origin. Well, I wonder what the lawsuit was. He pleaded his case with great eloquence and won. So that is a classic correlation causation fallacy. Yeah, plain and simple. But the ability to deceive without offending. Okay, we're getting some different definitions. I thought it was just about communication when it was then incorporated. So it was famous in this way before becoming part of the castle. The proprietors of the castle list several other explanations for the origins of the stone on their website. Many of those suppose that the stone had previously been in Ireland and taken to Scotland. Okay, so here's my take on this. As a therapist and a person who communicates a lot, I do think that communication, we don't really respect how much of a skill communication is. I don't just mean being a therapist, but like being able to express yourself. being able to communicate what you're trying to communicate. It's kind of a very amazing skill, and it's easy to simplify and take for granted and expect everyone to be able to say their thoughts and feelings and to ask relevant questions and to continue the thrust of a conversation in the way it was going. It's actually not apparently so easy for people to do these things. So I will say I understand why this would take on. This came up for me because I talked to a friend who went to Ireland, and he was saying it. He just found it really beautiful, and then he talked about going to this Blarney Stone castle. I was like, Blarney Stone, you know what I mean? And he talked about not kissing it, but all the people waiting in line to kiss it. People kiss it, and I was like, that seems unsanitary. And he was like, I thought so. Just kind of giving you an update of the whole conversation. But yeah, that was just my sort of reflection on it. I was thinking, I think maybe that represents some kind of deep-seated awareness that like this is a amazing tool, language that we really struggle with, and it's not so simple as we might like it to be. So yeah, I just encourage everyone to really think of communication as a pretty difficult skill that requires a lot of attention and effort, because it's hard to say what you mean and to mean what you say, and to understand people correctly and to not misinterpret willfully or negligently. Next up, let's get to the desks section. Enough about this and that and blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the desks. So first up, we have the art desk. So we're going to go to the art desk right now. Martin Shkreli ordered to turn over digital copies of his forfeited Wu-Tang Clan album. Uh-oh, Martin's in a little bit of trouble. Apparently, he's being sued. They're suing the disgraced. He got this, he purchased this one-of-a-kind Wu-Tang Clan album that they made as, I guess, some sort of gimmick to make a one-of-a-kind album. It's an interesting concept. I definitely can respect that. But the current owner says that this guy, this disgraced pharmaceutical executive, which is a great set of words to identify yourself with, or to be identified with. He's apparently playing the album for others and making digital copies of it. Now, I have a hard time getting upset with Martin about that. I get doing that, but it's just interesting. No, I more dislike him for trying to jack up prices of pharmaceutical products that people need. Next up on the art desk is the summer group show in New York going the way of the dinosaur. So apparently art news. So apparently blah, 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 blee, blue, blue. So the group shows are not as popular. And as in many other years, this year, a sad batch of group exhibitions seemed to prove that an unsteady market yields safe presentations of mostly forgettable art. They talk about one show, a banal smattering, a banal. Sorry. My mind's in the gutter. Let's just say that. A banal smattering of paintings of sunlit fields and leafy trees, blah, blah, believe. Okay. Unimaginative patterns. Oh, it's a Frank Stella painting. So apparently this author doesn't feel like the group shows are very interesting. I'm sure there's some truth to that. Art is obviously subjective. The platonic ideal of a summer group show fulfills all those criteria, and then some. It is certainly possible to find great exhibitions of that kind. They were just skimming this. Gagosian almost exclusively showed white artists before 2020. I'm not surprised. It's this famous gallery owner since like the 60s or so, I think. Maybe the 70s? I forget. I read about him in Leo Castelli's biography because he sort of was a mentor to him, who also showed like very privileged people, often mostly white men. Also in the vein of what is this? Sidney Janis sort of was his sort of mentor. I don't know. Mentor is a little bit strong, but some guys are just prejudiced, basically. That's obviously been the case in powerful communities of all kinds. So some good shows that are being referenced. That's good. That's nice. Very nice. Wow. Very interesting painting. Wow. Okay. I don't know. So this is one exhibition about dogs, apparently. I don't know. I personally don't think an art show should be themed that specifically about landscapes, about dogs. I think if you want to do a group show, which is a great idea, you should maybe something a little bit vaguer, politics or identity or something where there can be more variation. If you do have to theme it around a topic in that way, you could always theme it around. I mean, really the most groundbreaking group shows in my reading of art history are the ones based around a movement. So like post-impressionism or impressionism originally, cubism, obviously, abstract expressionist, the 9th Street show at the Stable Gallery, or the Stable Gallery show, and then I forget if that wasn't on 9th. But there are these famous shows that would take place. There was like a 9th Street show maybe a few years before the Stable Gallery in the 50s. So when you do a show based around some sort of new movement, that can be pretty powerful. But there's just so much these days. And then lastly on the art desk, will AI change art history forever? I was just hoping this would be a simple yes or no. I didn't realize it would be a whole article. Sorry. Yeah, I thought it would be. Let's see. Oh, the answer is no. The answer is no. Okay. So that's good to know. Right. All right, next desk, last desk probably for today. The classic Goodreads desk. I'm sorry, the book desk. Usually it's the book desk, but it's mostly the Goodreads desk today because we got a lot of Goodreads stuff to talk about. I've been looking at the Goodreads site. I love reading reviews. It's so much fun. People are such great writers. Book desk, I'm also reading a book before we get to the Goodreads. I'm reading, as I mentioned, this book about British artists in the 20th century. I always get my centuries wrong. 20th century. So I don't really, I don't like to learn about England in any way. I try not to, but sometimes it's like if you're learning about the art world, you should learn about, various countries. So I'm learning about British artists in the 20th century. It's pretty fascinating. I'm at World War I, which is, it's genuinely wild how war interfaces with art and affects it and affects art history. I mean, from everything like, propaganda in Britain, using artists to depict positive, heroic scenes of war rather than negative ones, or, artists literally going to war, as they very often do, because, people were drafted, and also there's like significant compulsion from your culture. And everything from that to, something like the way that so many artists ended up in New York City because of World War I and especially World War II. So it's fascinating. So it's just, anyways, there's all kinds of history. But let's get to the Goodreads stuff because that's a little bit more fun. So first up, this is something I've been noticing, another 1-star review that's positive. So this has happened a few times. 1-star review that's positive. Now, I'm realizing some people just think 1 star is the highest number of stars, and it's fascinating. This person says, this was an entertaining and intriguing recount of Jesus' meteoric rise and fall and subsequent elevation through the years as the Messiah. This is a Bill O'Reilly book about Jesus. A lot of people hated it. A lot of Christians hated it. Apparently, Bill O'Reilly is not a great Christian. And it's a historical account. I was entertained and interested throughout the story. I think any student of history, religious or not, could enjoy this book. And they read it in a day. And that's interesting that they think 1-star review is the highest. Now, to go on to the next one, it's another Bill O'Reilly book. And I realized when I was loading these links, it's actually the same person, which is fascinating. I swear I did not even realize that until I loaded the links just now from the dock into the window. So apparently that's actually lending credence to it because it shows that this distinct person does think that. Because look, love him or hate him, I think any history buff would enjoy his killing. So he read this a few days before the other book. I did pick up some facts in this book that I did not know before. What are they? Well, read the book for yourself to see. How would we know what you didn't know before, though? Anyways, just interesting. 1 star, people think it's good. Next up, we got, what is this? This is another, actually, a different person. This is for a different book. This person says, Guerrilla Mindset is a self-help improvement book by Mike Cernovich. I had been following Mike's blog for quite some time now and decided to give his book a shot. While I find most books of this nature loaded with intangible nonsense, so this guy really liked it. which a lot of people didn't. Favorite sections, my own anxiety was not completely cured. What? Get your money back. No, I just think it's fascinating. I mean, it's just no negative comments. So some people really think 1 star is the highest level of stars. Let me know what you think about that. Let me close out of a window here. Close out of another. Well, what do we got next so I can preface it as I'm closing out? Oh, okay. So this next one's interesting. So this next one has a both. So we've talked about this. People who will write 1.5 or 2.5. We've seen a 0.8 before, but this is rare for people to get that specific with their review. Even more rare to match that 3.8 with a 2-star review. So sometimes you'll see 1.5 and they'll round it up to 2, 1.5 and they'll round it down to 1. I've never seen 3.8 rounded down to 2. That's wild. That's never been done before. Another interesting Goodreads fact. This Bill O'Reilly book we mentioned was published in September of 2013. It's called Killing Jesus, A History. There's also this book, Killing Jesus, that was published 4 months before that. So I just wanted some investigative journalism I uncovered. So Bill O'Reilly, what do you have to say about that? Then we have, let's see. So this is, so I'm just uncovering plagiarism. That's something I like to do. Is it plagiarism? You tell me. Verbal Journal Podcast, gmail.gov, .com. Sorry. That's why we don't get a lot of people writing in. Next up, this is just a funny review. No. I am devastated that this has been placed on the shelf with other history books. It's not scholarly, or even there are no real footnotes to speak of. Chicago APA or even cringe MLA would have been better than this. I mean, why in the scope of Jesus' life would I need to know about a maggot-infested penis of a ruler from years past? Yeah, so this is actually interesting. Bill O'Reilly, and I've never read any of his books, but I've read a lot of reviews. Apparently he has kind of a weird sensationalist, scandalous approach to sex, where he's like very needlessly referencing sexually explicit things, which does not actually go well with his audience, though I'm sure, sex sells generally, but it's just interesting. So is he a pervert? Is a question that people are asking. I do think he has sexual harassment and or sexual abuse allegations against him. So I wanted to throw this out there in addition to that. Is he a pervert writing about weird sexual things needlessly? And why? Because there's nothing wrong with thinking about sex, thinking about the most sexy, weird, thinking about how this makes you want to, you know what I mean? But if I was writing a popular history book, I would be like, why am I talking about this, gangrene penis of a Roman or whatever, you know what I mean? Next up, I don't know if it was gangrene. Don't take my medical advice on that. This has happened before, actually. This person, let's just read it. No, let's not read it. They say they gave it 2 stars and they gave it 1. This has happened before. We've seen it before, but that's still wild. You gave it 1 star, so stop lying to me. I can see it right in front of me. This is basically a response video. There's a whole book published about Bill Maher's book and how wrong it is. I kind of want to read it. So that's interesting. If anyone has a PDF, email it to verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. Next up, the way this review starts cracks me up. They say history is written by the victors. This book reads as if it had been written by an 11-year-old. More bad titles. People hate bad titles. Apparently this was not much about witches. You know what I mean? So let's look at a good review. The first 15 chapters go through the history of the Puritans, and the next, and then the witch trials is the first half of the book. The next 10 chapters was the history of American independence and the founding fathers, nothing related to the title of the book. And then the last 6 chapters jumped 162 years and into a story of demonic possession, which the book The Exorcist was based on. Huh? So I just like this from a data perspective. I thought Reginald would like it, but then I remembered that he's a dog. So that sort of messes with that. Okay, and that's sort of the book. That's the book desk. I hope you enjoyed the book desk. sometimes we talk about news or finance, but I thought this would be good. Just do the art desk, do the book desk, kind of reel people in for the more heavy subjects. All right, so let's thank the members. Let's thank the patrons. Let's thank the people who make this show possible. They give me $1, $2, $5, some of them $10, I think, maybe one or two of them, a month. And I get about $100 a month together from YouTube members and patrons. I still get some AdSense money that maybe like $200 a month from AdSense. So that's really good. But it would be good to get even more members and patrons, to be honest. It would help me put more time into the podcast because it's actually a couple hours of work now for these videos. So if I do that 4 times a month, I'm getting probably below minimum wage. So it's not your job to supplement that. But if you have disposable income, you can support this channel, and so on. If you've watched the videos, maybe you want to do that. No big deal if you don't. It's fine. You know what I mean? I'll keep doing this regardless until I decide for some other reason not to. But so far, I'm loving this. And we're just getting up and running. We are really rolling now with these video podcasts now. So thank you. First, Patreon. Thank you, Ibnomad. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Oliver, MK, Matt, Scott, Noah, Anastasios, TV Ghost, Linguist, Sam, King, Margot, Tom, Stephanie, Verbal Gerbil, Miles, Hugh, Donovan, Redgrove, Elemancy, Platinum Sarge, Rabid Dog, Jen, Ian, Russ, Irene, MJ, Gaff45 Ursvit, Ryan, Madeline, John, Dependency Injector, Mr. Moxie, Brent, Molly, Kyle, Ashley, Jack, Scott, Luca, Isaiah, Gunthirst, Thulusaurus Rex. Did you change your image? And Miles and User over to YouTube members where the cool cats come also. They're all cool. And they all come. Thank you, Sadie, Eva, Jifa, Simply Snaps, Finesse, Cat, Jaden, Trusty Ghost, Hollow Moon, Pit Inhabitant, and 39% Weird. Now let's get over to the mailbag. This is a very exciting segment where we read all the messages from people who write in to Verbal Journal Podcast at gmail.com. So let's pull that up. Verbal Journal Podcast at gmail.com. No one wrote in. Okay. Well, that's easy. That's that. So thank you so much for watching, I guess. It was really me who I should be thanking. And this was great. I hope I had a good time, and I did. And I hope you had a good time. That I don't know whether you did. So let me know. Feel free to subscribe, subscribe, become a member, support, give me money, and so on. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you felt about this whole thing, the Reginald, insane update. Just kind of give me some feedback. Feed me back. And all right. Bye.
This is a podcast or something like that.
Oh.